Hello all, this is Labdi Sheth from Civil Engineering Department, LDRP ITR. Today I will cover the basic concept of the importance of environmental engineering as well as the importance of water supply scheme. The subject of environmental engineering that is being studied in the 5th semester of the BE Civil Engineering. This is my today's content. Definition of environmental engineering, importance of water supply scheme, components of water supply scheme, typical layout of water supply scheme. So before starting giving the importance of water supply scheme, let me tell you about the few concepts of the environmental engineering. So what does mean environmental engineering? It is the application of science and engineering knowledge, concepts, and the principles to improve or restore our natural environment and solve environmental problems in order to provide healthy environment for all living organisms. So first of all, let me tell you about the environment. Environment, that means surrounding to us. That means the summation of all living and the non-living things. So whatever the surrounding to us, that makes our environment. So there any changes in the environment that directly or indirectly affect to us, not only for human being but also for the plants, for the animals, in short, in surrounding environment it will affect. So the environmental engineering that deals with the improvement and the restore of the natural resources. Now what does it mean, natural resources? Natural resources, that means the things that we require for our survival that is available in the environment. So these are very basic, like the natural component, air, water and the land. So, to solve the various environmental problems like environmental pollutions or any global issues, in order to provide the healthy environment for all living organisms, this environmental engineering are there. So now the common question arises: why this environmental engineering that as a subject that is studied in the civil engineering? So for that, let me tell you that as environment, that means surrounding to us, whatever we do that will directly or indirectly affect the environment. And the same way, like the environment also, that if there is any changes in the environment, that will deal in the, that will affect to the human being also. So in the pure form, environmental component like air and water, that should be like that is no any harmful if impurities in that. But as soon as we add something into that due to our human activities, industrial activities, as nowadays rapid industrialization, modernization, there are many changes in the component of the air and the water as well as the land also. So these resources are being degraded. These resources are being degraded because of the human activities. Now because of that, it will have the harmful effect to the human as well as to the various component of the environment. Now this changes to restore that resources and to improve that changes. For that, the engineering skills required. So just for the example, like for water, as so many impurities are being added because of the various usage of the water, this water required to be treated first before any usage. So for that treatment, the water treatment plant and the component required. So planning and designing of the water treatment plant, that is being under the portfolio of the civil engineers. And that's why to make understand regarding the designing, planning of the water treatment plant, as well as same way for the wastewater treatment plant, this environmental engineering as a subject is studied under the civil engineering as a main course, right? So now this actually the environmental engineer that does, Environmental engineer deals with the structure, equipment, systems that are designed to protect and enhance the quality of the environment and to protect and enhance the public health and welfare. So for the public health and the welfare, we required some of the structures, some of the equipment, some of the systems, some of the technologies, some of the process for enhancing, improving the quality of the environmental component, because it is being degraded by our activity. And that's why environmental engineer that deals to improve, to restore that actual quality of the environment. Regarding my today's topic, it is the importance of water supply scheme. Why we need that water supply scheme. So before that, let me share my view on the importance of the water. As you know that the water is very, very, very precious to our life, as we are bound with the various natural resources. We cannot live without any natural resources. So same like the air we require for the breathing, we require oxygen for our survival. Same way for the air, water is also required for our survival. We cannot live without water in a single day even. So water is life for us, we can say. Not only for drinking, but water is used for the cooking, bathing, for many daily activities, for cleaning of floors, cleaning of washrooms, cleaning of utensils, cleaning of clothes, gardening, lawning purpose. We require water. In short, the usage of water is everywhere. We cannot ignore the usage of water. Just image that if there is no any water in our tap, then can you image your life? The answer is absolutely no. We cannot image our life without water. So when there is no any water in our tap, we are very helpless. Starting from morning to our night activity, we are bound with the various usage of the water. Not only the external activities, but our internal body. Two-third part of our human body that is made up with the water only. So water is very, very precious. It is as important, as precious like the gold. So let us save it. Water is an essential part of our life on the globe. Plant and animals could not live without water. Water ensures the food security, livestock security, maintain organic life, industrial production, and to conserve the biodiversity and environment. So these are the general importance of the water, usage of water, as we know that no life can exist without water. Two-third part of the human body constitutes with the water only. So water that gives the luxurious and the comfort to the human being. As we know that water is chemical compound and may occur in a liquid or in a solid or in a gaseous form. All these three forms of water are extremely useful to man and that provide us for the luxurious and the comforts, right? So in addition for that, water is also useful for the beautification, I mean for the gardening, for the lawning purpose also. So to ensure the availability of the sufficient quantity of the good quality water, it becomes almost compulsory in a modern society to plan and build the suitable water supply scheme which may provide potable water to the various section of the community in accordance with their demands and the requirements. So for the provision of the good quality water and also for the sufficient quantity of water, the water supply scheme should be designed. Now what does this water supply scheme? See, this is the general management of the water from direct to the scratch and direct from the source itself to the ending point, like to the usage, right? So that requires the skills, that requires the management. So this water supply scheme, basically it is the management of the water from sources to the till end point like the users. So, water supply systems that must also meet the requirements for public, commercial, and industrial activities. In all cases, the water must fulfill both quality and the quantity requirements. As we know that the water is used for the not only for drinking, but it is also used for the cooking, bathing, and all domestic purposes. As well as the water is also used for the various industrial activity, as water is being used for the as a solvent. Water is used for the as a medium also in the industries. Then water is used in the commercial activities. Water is also used in the public works, I mean public works like the gardening or the cleaning of the road purpose. Apart from that, the community, I mean the city or the town, that must keep certain amount of the water in the daily basis for the fire requirement, to meet the fire requirement as it may come in the emergency period. So, to meet all these requirements in the quantity wise, as well as the users must not affect by the inavailability, insufficient amount of the water. And apart from that, it should not contain any kind of the impurities, as that may cause the waterborne disease. And that's why the water should free from all the chemicals, water should free from all the impurities, and it should be a wholesome water. Now what does it mean, wholesome water? That means it should be safe, it should be free from all the chemicals, free from all the impurities. That is called as a wholesome water. So we can say that the wholesome water is a safe water that we can drink. So once the water is useful for drinking, it can be used for the any purposes. Right, so these are the objectives of the water supply schemes. It should supply the safe and the wholesome water to the consumers. It should encourage the personal and the household cleanliness of the users. As we know that the water supply scheme should meet the demand of the water in all terms. In all terms, that means in the terms of the personal and the household cleanliness of the users. Now next is that it should supply water at the reasonable cost to the users. It should supply the water in the sufficient quantity. Sufficient quantity in the sense that as a user, that is our responsibility, that water is not be wasted. Water is not the resources that should be wasted at any cost, because as we know that the water is very precious. But the thing is that it should be available in the sufficient quantity, at least to meet the demand of our daily activities. So as a users, that should our responsibility to have the sustainable development in terms of the usage of water. It should meet the demand, but it should not affect our future requirement. So the water supply scheme, coming back to that point, water supply scheme that should supply the water at the reasonable cost. It should not be that much costly like the petrol and diesel, right? So water should be, I mean, cost of water should be a cost of water only, that should be reasonable for each and every users. Because from we can say that from any person, from like toddler, kid to the old age person, that requires the water at each and every point of life. So it should available at the reasonable cost as well as to the sufficient quantity. It should supply the water at the convenient points and the timing. It doesn't mean that the water, I mean users that get the water at the certain interval of the day, like once in a week or once in a month. It should not like that, of course. So it should be available at least once or twice in a day, and at the convenient points. That means it should reach up to the each and every housing, or we can say each and every points to the user, such that the person that would not carry the water, and they are not required to carry the water from the distance of miles. water should reach their point, I mean their houses also. These are the basic components of the water supply scheme. Start, as I said, that the water supply scheme, that means the management of water. Management of water from beginning to end. From beginning, that means, of course, not like from the our tap only. It means from the sources of water. Sources of water that starts from the natural sources of water, that may be surface source and that may be subsurface source. Surface source, that means above the ground level, like the pond, lake, a river, and the subsurface source, like from the groundwater. It may be anything from surface source or from subsurface source, but in short, the water should be collected from the various sources of within a town or the city, and then after, through the intake structure, the water is being conveyed to the treatment plant. As we know that water supply scheme, that should ensure the quality of the water also. It should free from all the impurities, it should free from all the chemicals, because the raw water may contain lots of amount of the chemicals, in the bulk impurities also, because it is exposed to the nature, exposed to the atmosphere. So there are lots of chances to mix the various impurities and various chemicals into that. And that's why water supply scheme, that is the first aim, to treat the water such that it is safe for drinking. So treatment plant is the next component of the water supply scheme. After water is being treated and free from all the chemicals, it should be distributed to each and every users. It should be distributed at each and every point of the users in the town and the city. This is the typical layout of the water supply scheme, that starts from the dam, that means from the source, from the various surface or the subsurface source. The water is being collected, water is being stored in the dam, and then after, on the daily basis, it is being conveyed through the pipelines, through the intake structure, to the treatment plant. In the treatment plant, it is being treated under the physical, chemical, and the biological process to remove the physical, chemical, and the biological characteristic, and to meet the highest standards for the drinking. So in this treatment plant, in the physical treatment, physical process of the treatment plant, that includes the screening, sedimentation process. In the screening, it removes the floating particles. In the sedimentation, the colloidal particles, settlable particles, that will be removed. After that, the water is conveyed to the coagulation process, that is the chemical treatment, chemical treatment, that is flocculation and coagulation, where the water is being mixed with the alum. Alum is a chemical, and through this chemical attack, the water is being treated, and such that we can remove the fine solid particles, chemicals, through the alum process. Now, after that, the water is being conveyed to the biological process, where it should free from bacteria. E. coli, beta coli should be nil in the drinking water. So various biological process, if required, then that is being treated through this biological process. After that, the water is being is being conveyed to the distribution system. Before distribution system, chlorination is being done for the removal of the bacteria. So chlorination is the disinfection process, and before chlorination, the filtration is done. Filtration is the slow sand and the rapid sand filter, just to remove the any fine particles that is not be treated or not be removed by the chemical process, coagulation process. So after this filtration and the chlorination, at this point and at this point also, chlorination is being done at 2 points. then after the water is safely distributed to each and every users. So as a user, we get the water from this entire process. So water supply scheme that works from start to end point, right? So I hope now you clear regarding the importance of water and the water supply scheme. I'm thankful to everyone, environmental engineer that makes future better. Thank you.